Budget Reckoner. Next 30 minutes, it's about markets, but budget and markets. That's what we're calling the show, budget and markets. Now, historically, what is the correlation between budget and market? Now, budget at some point in time was considered to be the swing event of the year. Over the years, that has come down, but the excitement which happens before the budget can never be nullified. So, in today's episode, we will map trends with Kunal in terms of what the historical trends are, and there is some lovely looking proprietary data Kunal has come up with. One day before the budget se ek din pehle, which are some stocks which have given positive returns, and which are some stocks which have given positive returns irrespective of the broader market. So Kunal, is there a data which says that 10 out of last 10 budgets, there are some stocks which have always given positive return?
Absolutely, yes. And I was amazed when I looked at the data myself. And in fact, I know this data was right even till the last budget. So if we consider this as 11th budget, say, from the data which I had calculated, this has worked 11 out of 11 times. So the first stock which actually has given 10 out of 10 over the last budgets, and that too by a margin of I think around 3.5 to 4%, 3.74 to be precise is the exact number in terms of the average gains for the stock, and that's Anantraj Industries, a stock which has done remarkably well over the last 10 budgets. Cochin Shipyard, a stock which has a limited history in that sense. Over the last 9 budgets, the stock has given 100% returns, positive returns. So 100% of the times the stock has given positive returns. The gain is just about 2.1% for Cochin Shipyard. Borosil Renewables, last 5 budgets, the stock has given positive returns one day prior to the budget day.
So if budget is on 1st of Feb, on 31st of Jan, if you bought Anantraj, you've made money, or you bought it on 1st and sold it on the budget day? When you say one day prior, how do you judge it?
So the closing of 30th on this case, so closing of 30th compared to the closing of 31st.
Okay, so one day before budget, if you bought Anantraj, what may be the underlying factor? I'm not getting there.
Correct.
But it could be in coincidence, but technically it's in pattern that Anantraj has given a positive return.
Yes.
Do you see that happening 11th time?
I see that happening 11th time.
Do you see that happening for Kochi Shipyard, Borosil Renewables and Railtel also?
Yes. In fact, there are many other stocks also which have given similar kind of returns. But then broadly, when you look at the average return, so the stock which has actually given the highest returns out of the names is actually Jupiter Wagon, a stock which has given an average of 4.5% on the pre-budget.
These are 10 budgets.
Pre-budget.
No, 10 pre-budgets.
10 pre-budgets.
10 pre-budget Jupiter Wagon, if you bought it at
Jupiter Wagon, the data is only for the last 3 budgets because of the limited history.
Okay, fair point.
But 100% of the times.
Okay. But as a trend, I think Anantraj qualifies the cut because it is given 2.5% return.
Yes.
One
it's
day
passed through the last 10 budgets. So it's a substantial
you bought
data.
on 30th, on Friday, I mean 30th closing. Sold it on 31st closing. But can you do that in T+2?
Yeah, T+1.
T+1 you can actually do that.
T+1 is BDST is allowed.
But there are some stocks which have lost also.
Yes.
So, equation has X equal to Y.
Correct.
Which are some of the stocks which could be called as stocks which will go down before the budget? And again, one day data, right?
So, yeah, one day data. And again, over here, the list of stocks is quite interesting. Moil, considered to be a stock which generally moves quite
it's a commodity stock.
Commodity stock. So that 9 over the last 10 years, the stock has actually given negative returns. The average return is around 0.7, 0.68 to be precise, for Moil. Hindustan Oil Exploration, again an oil-related company, that stock has also given negative returns for the last 9 out of the 10 budgets by an average of 0.8%. And Sharda Motors, Tata Investment, even HCL Tech, a stock which...
HCL Tech is an interesting one.
Yeah, 8 out of the last 10 budgets, the stock has actually given negative returns, that to 1.14%.
But 1% does not make a stock tradable. So can I say in terms of an idea to go short this time, maybe there is very little logic in creating a short position in some of these stocks, even it's HCL Tech also, because you will get a 1.5% move, which is not worth it.
Yeah, that's what the margin of loss over here is very, very limited. That's why it may not look out to be an attractive trade. But then these are the kind of stocks which traders can even avoid on the budget or just
avoid them. Okay. Now, what about moves on the budget day? What is the average Nifty move on the budget day?
So on the budget day, we've seen the index moving by a margin of almost 0.4-0.5% on the plus, on the positive side. That's happened 3 out of the last 10 budgets, where we've actually seen, rather it's on the negative side, 3 out of the last 10 budgets, we've actually seen the index down 4.42%.
So out of last 10 budgets, on the budget day, markets have been up more or down more?
It has been up more, but the percentage returns on the up is a bit less, but the percentage returns on the down days is much on the higher side. So if it's a negative day, it's not a normal negative day, it's more of a impactful negative day.
Okay. They say that you buy the rumor and sell the news. This time there is only bad news rumor ahead of the budget.
Correct.
Could markets rally after the budget? Because I'm assuming that next 2 days you don't get a large move. Then we'll perhaps discuss it separately. But if you enter into budget at these levels, which is just around 23,000, could there be a post-budget rally?
The chances are very much on the higher side because it's not just the budget. So this time around, it's not just the budget which is the big event, but post-budget you already have two big events. The US event in terms of Trump announcement, then you have the RBI event. So both of these events. So even if assuming budget disappoints, say for example as an assumption, then the markets have two more better triggers to try and latch on to. And if in case that comes out to be positive, it will be 2 out of 3. So the probability is very high. If budget is positive, then of course it adds to the momentum for the indices. We look at the setup also, a major pain of the market is out. So we were discussing this I think a couple of days back also, that a major bottom generally gets happened when you see capitulation, when you see panic kind of reaction. That has already happened in terms of the stocks. So I give a very simple relative example. If the Nifty is at 23,000, stocks are actually at 21,000 or 20,000 levels. So when you have such kind of a deep divergence in terms of stocks, very little room for the stocks to fall further. It may happen for a couple of days, but as a trend, we look out for divergence to correct itself.
Okay, now we come to budget day gainers. Very interesting. Budget day gainers. Kunal's got very interesting names here. Tata Consumer, Birla Corp. Delivery, I would like to knock it out because it has limited history. But ITC, Mahindra & Mahindra Financials and Dabur. So out of the 6 stocks which you've identified, 3 are FMCG.
3 are FMCG and ITC, a stock which is supposed to be very sensitive on the budget day.
Exactly. So interestingly, consumer stocks have done well on the budget day.
Yes.
Is there a trade in consumer stocks?
Yeah. So I think in this case, ITC, M&M Finance, I think post the, even if I add a bit of technicals over here, the last 2 or 3 days back, the breakout which we've seen for M&M Finance indicates that maybe the worst of the pain could be out for the stock and we are looking at a resurgence of sort for the stock. ITC, of course, a stock which has given 9 out of the last 10 budgets positive gains. There's always so the stock goes into the budget with a negative expectations, but then once, if nothing is announced on the negative side, it generally delivers positive return. In fact, last year budget, July budget, I remember I think the stock was up almost 4%, 4 or 5%, the only stock which was positive from the large cap FMCG pack. Tata Consumers, another surprise, that the stock has given 5 out of 5 times positive returns over the last 5 budgets, and that too by a margin of almost 2.5%. These are substantial numbers when you look at this as an average over the last 5-6 years.
And when you say budget day moves, you buy them at 915 and sell them at 329.
Yeah.
So if one has to, let's say, identify one budget trade, and there is Tata Consumer, Birla Corp, Delivery, ITC, Mahindra & Mahindra Financials and Dabur, pick the top draw for us.
I'll pick up 2, ITC and M&M Finance, because I've seen that as a pattern also that these stocks have done remarkably well. The average returns also is quite stable. You are looking at 2% as an average gain on the budget day, which is decent enough for a F&O stock as well as a larger cap name like ITC.
Okay, now losers. And budget also has the swing effect on the positive and the negative side. Losers are RailTel, RVNL, Tesmaco Rail. Budget day loser Jupiter Wagon. Yes. Because before budget goes higher, on the budget day comes down. So your data is indicating, and how many years of data you looked at, Kunal, when you've analyzed Tesmaco, Jupiter, RVNL and RailTel?
So the RailTel and RVNL have, RailTel has 4 years of data, RVNL 7 years of data, Texmaco Rail has 10 years of data, Jupiter Wagon has 3 years of data as we discussed earlier. So these are, so this is all the history which is covered into the stock, and that covers the entire movement of the stock price. But the concern over here, Nikunj, is the jump or is the drop into these stocks. The average return on the stocks on the downside is 4.5%. These are big numbers, and all of these RailTel and RVNL, these are railway related stocks, Texmaco Rail. So budget is supposed to be quite positive into this railway sector, but then the price action is telling you a different story altogether.
So again, if you go short on PSU stocks and especially railway stocks at 915,
correct,
cover them at 329. History has told us that RailTel, RVNL, Tesmaco and Jupiter Wagons have given you a 4 to 5% return.
4 to 5% return.
Again, which could be a best idea to go short on intraday at 9:15 on 1st of Feb.
So I will look at Railtel as a better trade over here, because I think Jupiter Wagon has also already fallen so much over the last few days. In fact, today also the stock is down. So maybe there could be a bit of a bounce back. Say you have 2 days pre-budget, but in case if the bounce back is not substantial, then there could be a chance that we may probably expect the stock to bounce back. Railtel could be a better bet.
All right. Kunal, thank you very much. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll connect with Kenneth and Rade. Talk about markets, budget, small cap and mid cap, and how is he investing in this kind of a volatile environment.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.